Welcome to the E-commerce Badassery Podcast, the place for scrappy female entrepreneurs who want to learn actionable steps and strategies to grow the traffic, sales, and profit in your e-commerce business. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster, a 20-year retail veteran who spent 3 years as the only employee of a 7-figure online store. That shit was crazy. I know exactly how it feels to do all the things, and I'm sharing everything I learned the hard way so you don't have to. I may have started this business by accident, but supporting badass bosses like you lights me the fuck up, and I am so stoked to see you grow. Are you ready, babe? Let's roll. Welcome back to the E-commerce Badassery Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Totillo-Coster. Can you believe this is the last week of 2021? I swear this year has flown by so quickly, and I know we always say that, right? But I really feel it so much more this year. And with the end of one year comes the opportunity to start the new one fresh, finally getting all those things organized, finally getting those systems in place, finally hiring that team member, making progress on our goals, investing in the education of yourself or your team. Insert that thing you've been trying to achieve here. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about on this episode. A couple of weeks ago, I did a live in the E-commerce Badassery Facebook group with our favorite Facebook ad strategist, Nicole Dietrich. And in that live, we talked about planning for the new year. We talked about running Facebook ads, we touched on Google Ads a smidge, and we talked about accountability. Originally, this podcast episode was going to be a replay of that live, but the audio quality wasn't great and there was so much random chatter that I decided I would just re-record it to make it more podcast friendly. So in preparation for recording this episode, I rewatched that live video. And while I was watching it, I realized the most important message of that day was the accountability piece. So instead of running through all the things covered during that video, I want to focus on that, accountability. If you're listening to this and thinking, but Jessica, I need help with the planning piece and Facebook ads too, don't worry, I have some awesome episodes you can go listen to that will help you with that. Just scroll down to the show notes or head to ecommercebadassery.com/92 to get all of those links. You can also head over to the E-commerce Badassery Facebook group and watch the live video we did. It's still there and available for replay. It was posted on December 2nd. Okay, so let's talk about accountability. I find this topic a little, I don't really know the right word. It's one of those things that's like so obvious. Like, duh, we need to hold ourselves accountable. When we were in school, if we didn't do our homework, we got in trouble. When you work for someone else, if you don't show up to work or you're late or you don't do what's expected of you, you get in trouble or fired. And think of your own team and what you expect from them. When you're a CEO, you feel accountable to your staff, making sure you pay them on time, that there is actually money to pay them. If you're a good CEO, that is. I have worked at a company that if you didn't cash your check in the first hour you received it, there was a pretty good chance it was going to bounce. Not a great place to be in. But, you're accountable to your customers too. When they place an order, you're sure to ship it out to make sure they receive the item they paid for. Accountability is just built into our lives and our businesses. It's expected in human culture and society. We don't even really think about it. It's kind of like breathing. You don't have to remind yourself to breathe, you just do. Unless you're Tom Hanks in Sleepless in Seattle. But what about the accountability to ourselves, to our goals, to the vision we have for our business, to our to-do list? I see it honestly a lot like how we treat our self-care. It's usually the first thing to go. A few weeks ago, I spent a good amount of time cleaning up all of my digital files, reorganizing things, moving some things to Dropbox from Google Drive, deleting screenshots and random shit on my desktop. And when I was cleaning up my Google Drive specifically, I came across all of these documents, and some of them didn't even have titles on them. But there were a shit ton of them. Some of them were these big brain dumps of things I wanted to do, courses I wanted to create, systems I wanted to finish setting up. And there were multiple documents with the same exact info on them. Seriously, I'd brain dumped the same information multiple times. And when I started to look through them, I realized there were still so many things on there that I hadn't gotten to at all, or things I had started but didn't finish or was still in progress on. For instance, I've been wanting to switch the CRM I use in my business to streamline operations for both myself and my clients. I started working on it a few months ago, and I did get some of my things migrated over, but there are some other things that are still operating in the old system. So now I'm working in 2 systems and paying for 2 systems with no end to that in sight. And yes, I know I should outsource it, and now that I have a handle on how I want that new system to function, I can. But I needed to understand it before I could truly outsource it to ensure I was future-proofing my setup. Anywho, the point is, I have a never-ending to-do list of shit, and if I was left to my own devices, I may never get it done because I don't have anyone to answer to but myself. Sure, there are parts of my business that I have no problem getting done, like this podcast, for example, where I'm accountable to you, the listener, or client work, which I'm being paid for and am accountable to that client. But if it's for me or my business in general and doesn't really affect anyone else but me, who knows how long it's going to take? Even my new membership, The Lounge. I've been thinking about doing a membership for a long time. I had a few brain dump docs on that too, by the way. But once I brought Nicole into the fold and we met up in person last month in Vegas, we knocked out the program details in basically a day. Or how about the subscription box I had back in the day? Did you know that I had been planning to do that on my own for a long time? I spent months creating the branding, researching products to feature, hanging out in Facebook groups, learning all I could about the industry, researching and testing my technology options, building up an Instagram following. And then I met my business partner and we had our products curated and the cart open in about 30 days of going into business together. Granted, part of our ability to launch so quickly was all the legwork I had done ahead of time. But would I ever have done it without her? Not so sure. All right, so now that I've told you all the ways I don't get shit done, what is the point of this fucking episode? It's that we all need accountability. We need someone to answer to. We need someone to brainstorm with. We need someone to call us out when we don't get our shit done. So the question becomes, well, where do we find this person? Nicole is lucky enough to have an operations manager who keeps her in line, and I'm lucky enough to have Nicole. Now, of course, at some point, I need a true right hand inside my business, but I'm so grateful for Nicole in terms of high-level brainstorming and being there when I need to vent or to celebrate. And you need that too. Now, depending on your business, maybe you have an ops manager that you can lean more heavily on. Maybe you need a biz bestie. Maybe you need to hire someone. Maybe you need a mentor. Maybe you need a group program or a membership. It's really going to depend on your exact needs, where you struggle, and what you're currently focused on in your business. But you need someone, maybe many people. And if you don't have someone in your circle right now that you can lean on, I encourage you to go out and find them. And don't be afraid to make the first move. On that live, I told the story of how I actually met Nicole. We were both in this random Facebook group for online entrepreneurs. She posted a lot. I liked her vibe, her storytelling, and of course, it was a total bonus that she did Facebook ads, something I didn't really know how to execute. And so I reached out to her. That was probably 2 years or so ago, and look at us now. And I know it can be scary to reach out to random people on the internet. So maybe start off with some engagement first before you just randomly slide into their DMs. But don't be afraid to make the connection and just say, hey, I'd love to hop on a call and chat more about what you do, etc., etc. The worst thing they can say is, no, I don't have time for that. And then you can just move on. But I promise you, so many online entrepreneurs are just looking for more connection. And for all you know, they've been wanting to reach out to you too, but have been too scared. Ultimately, you just never know what might come out of those connections you make, but you've got to put yourself out there in order to make them. If you want help in this department, definitely check out The Lounge, as accountability is going to be a huge part of the program. I'll put a link in the show notes for you to check out the waitlist page with all the details. So whether it's in The Lounge or somewhere else, the main takeaway I want you to have today is that you need someone in your business life that can help keep you on the straight and narrow to reaching your goals. Maybe you already have that someone, but you're not leaning on them as much as you could. Or maybe you don't, and you need to make your first Q1 goal finding them. Wherever you're at, do yourself a favor and make a commitment to go all in with whoever that is. And that, my friends, is a wrap for 2021. Don't forget to check out those other episodes I mentioned earlier. I'll have links in the show notes for you. Just scroll on down in your podcast player to get them. Have a happy fucking New Year, and I'll see you on the flip side. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful if you'd leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're looking to surround yourself with more product entrepreneurs who totally get your life right now, get your booty on over to the E-commerce Badassery Facebook group. Can't wait to see you there. Until next time, e-commerce friends, stay badass.